questions to ask here. So joining us to break the video down further is Dr. Matthew Shadagas, a professor of physics at the University of Albany and an expert on UFO research, plus the author of a prodigious number of scientific publications on this very topic, including this study on UAPs just published in December. Thanks so much for joining us, Doctor. Again, we haven't verified the authenticity of this video, but it's strange looking. What's your take on it?
Well, my initial impression was that it looks like the Imperial probe droid from Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It is not a standard or common shape of UFO or UAP. And the color change is quite strange because it implies either a camera artifact, like some sort of rescaling, or some sort of signature management, because it doesn't make sense that would be changing from hot to cold so quickly if that's what's happening. That's not really physically possible as far as we know.
And by the way, at one point, I don't know if we can slow this down when this happens, but at one point we see this thing pass over two people who seem to be completely unaware that it's over them.
Yeah, to me that implies, again, two very different possible explanations. One, that it's not really there and is a camera artifact, or on the other hand, some sort of invisibility, some sort of signature management, which, as we know, is one of the classic UAP observables.
Well, if it were invisible, would that explain why it changes colors from black to white in that video?
No, so that particular aspect is very strange because, as Jeremy Corbell explains, the thermal imaging, and so that would imply a temperature change from hot to cold and vice versa, which really is impossible. So that, again, implies either a camera artifact, that it's not really changing temperature that quickly, or it implies some sort of signature management, which would then beg the question, if you had that ability, why wouldn't you just stay invisible? So it asks a lot of questions without very many answers right now.
What about this detail that it goes for a while and then it goes out over the water and dips down into the water and disappears for 17 minutes before reemerging?
Yeah, if we don't see that in the video that's been released in what we have so far, but transmedium travel is, again, one of those UAP observables. Mm-hmm. And if we actually had documented evidence of that, again, that may be another video. It's not in the currently released video, but that would be pretty remarkable because we don't have that ability, and no nation we know of has the ability for really good transmedium travel. We can do it, but very badly. You know, if you think of a seaplane, for example, it's both a terrible plane and a terrible boat. It's not very good at doing those things. So while we have limited transmedium capabilities, we don't have the capabilities that would allow us to seamlessly move between air and water, for example.
And what about the way it's moving? I mean, when you talked about it being a, quote, camera artifact, is that like a smudge on the lens? Or, I mean, what do you mean by that exactly?
So that was one of my initial thoughts. But when you look at the video carefully, you can actually see that the object changes in size with the zoom. That makes it unlikely that it's a smudge on the lens. And you also see the camera reticle, sort of the central four marks you see on the camera will be changing position relative to the object. So It actually makes it less likely that it's a smudge on the lens and more likely to be a physical object. But again, we don't have a lot of context. We don't have multiple vantage points in different videos. So it's nearly impossible to judge, for example, the size, the distance, the velocity, the acceleration, because we only have the one vantage point with this video.
But at this point in your mind, it is an unexplained aerial phenomenon, but that doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial in any way.
That's correct. So, like I said, my initial feeling was smudge on the lens. That doesn't seem to be borne out by looking at the entire video, but nevertheless, there's not enough context to make a conclusion. So by definition, it's unknown. Again, that doesn't mean it is something unnatural or remarkable, but right now there isn't enough data, metadata, or more of the backstory and context of who originally took the video.
Coming up on this week's news, multiple space scientists are predicting that 2024 will be the year of announcing alien life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The ICIG will give a private briefing to the members of the HOC on the UAP phenomenon.
And then we're going to join Jeremy Corbell in a UFO revolution.
The commander of the 88th Air Base Wing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was relieved of command due to a loss of confidence in his ability to lead. Dun, dun, dun.
UFO spotted by Top Gun instructor pilot Jack Stewart.
Update on where Kirkpatrick Pants is lurking. I mean, working.
And then aliens in Miami? WTF?
And then James Fox's new film, The Program. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show.
And we have a tweet from Cortex Zero. Over the past couple days, I've been hearing major rumblings regarding a potential imminent announcement regarding the discovery of a biosignature emanating from an exoplanet indicative of life outside of our planet, as many other people have. As far as the disclosure process is concerned, this would fall right in line with how I believe this would play out realistically.
To back this opinion up, we have 3 different space scientists who's recently made similar statements. First, Dr. Maggie Adarin-Pocock, a British scientist and space educator, says, quote, humanity will discover alien life this year, end quote. It's pretty straightforward if you ask me. She said that in this BBC New Year's Eve show that we're going to check out now.
It's delighted to say I've got Nicola Coughlan and Maggie Adarin-Pocock, who was here last year with predictions, and predictions were there were going to be meteorites.
Meteor showers, yeah.
Meteor showers, and they were.
Yeah, that's a pretty reliable prediction. They come every year. So.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I think I want to make a new prediction.
Yes, what would it be?
I think we're going to discover alien life next year.
That's a big prediction.
I'm doing this because I'm bound to get it wrong, and then you have to invite me back to make
I
fun
want to
of
sort of humiliate you. But yeah, here we go. But let's play that back. So everybody who heard it here first, at the very beginning of the year, these nascent moments of 2024, alien life will appear on planet Earth.
I think alien life is definitely out there.
Yes.
I'm very excited also about going back to the moon.
Love hearing those kinds of predictions, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2022, Dr. Maggie was featured in an article from iNews called I Worked on the James Webb Space Telescope, and now I think we'll find life out there. And in it, she says, quote, over the next 20 years or so, we are going to be finding out things that will change humanity. There are things we already anticipate we will find out, but what is really exciting is what we don't yet know that we will find out. So I wonder what she learned between saying this back in 2022 and now on New Year's Eve 2024, she's saying that we're going to find alien life. Also in agreement, in her YouTube video titled The Top 5 Space News Stories of 2023, British astrophysicist Dr. Becky makes a similar statement. Let's watch a clip from her next.
Having said that, I think we are going to get, a paper that claims to have strong evidence for a biosignature in an exoplanet's atmosphere very, very soon. Put it this way, it's on my 2024 bingo card, and I would be very surprised if I didn't cross it off.
A third British space enthusiast, astronaut Tim Peake, also made statements that corroborate this whole thing. Let's take a listen.
Statistically, look at the Milky Way, 200 billion stars or so. Milky Way is, one of a couple of 100 billion galaxies that we can see in the observable universe. If you just crunch the numbers, the chances of life elsewhere are staggering. There's loads of water around. There are lots of carbon molecules and compounds floating around the solar system. We've already found 5,000 planets in our local vicinity around stars, many of them in their habitable zone where liquid water can exist. I think it's just a matter of time until we find evidence of life elsewhere. In fact, potentially the James Webb Space Telescope may already have found that. It's just that they don't want to release those results or confirm those results perhaps for another year until they can be quite sure. But we found a planet which seems to be giving off strong signatures of biological life.
So at the end of that video with Tim Peake, the planet that they were referring to is mentioned in NASA's article called Webb Discovers Methane, Carbon Dioxide in Atmosphere of K218b, which was published back on September 11th, 2023. And Patrick with Vetted covered this article on a recent podcast. Let's take a look.
from this article from NASA. I'll move this over here. All right. So it says, these initial Webb observations also provided a possible detection of a molecule called dimethyl sulfide, DMS. And on Earth, this is only produced by life, right? So basically they found, and the rest of this I actually should read. So the bulk of the DMS in Earth's atmosphere, right, is emitted from phytoplankton in marine environments, right? And so they're basically saying DMS is, we only know that to exist as a byproduct of life, right? That's it. We don't know any other reference for it. So if we're finding that on the planet, right, we're assuming there's some sort of life there that's emitting that. And why do they think this planet? So they found this planet. Look, I'm going to show you this picture right here. I use that in the thumbnail. Exoplanet K218b. So it's around this sun. This sun is called K218. And the planet is K218b, right? So, and they're saying on this planet, right, look, a new investigation with NASA's James Webb Space Telescope into K218b, an exoplanet 8.6 times as massive as Earth, has revealed the presence of carbon-bearing molecules, including methane and carbon dioxide. Webb's discovery adds to recent studies suggesting that K218b could be a, I don't know how to say that, Haitian exoplanet, one which has the potential to possess a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and a water ocean covered surface, right? So that's nuts, y'all. And then on top of that, again, they found the DMS, right? So, but they're saying they need more time to confirm that.
Okay, so it seems like we have a lot of people in agreement here, right? What do you guys think about all this?
All right, the ICIG will give a private briefing to the members of the House Oversight Committee on the UAP phenomena. On Friday, January 12th, 2024, members of the House Oversight Committee will receive a classified briefing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UAP. The briefing is being led by the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Thomas Monaheim, and will privately be held in the Office of House Security. This has been a much anticipated event ever since David Grush gave testimony in the summer UAP hearings. Let's watch the news clip from News Nation to learn more.
For transparency over UFOs taking another step at the federal level. Next week, members of the House Oversight Committee will be called into a classified briefing on UFOs.
I'm a little frustrated with this because it's like I know what happened previously and I don't want that to happen again. So I'm like just pondering that in my brain. What do you think?
We might get something from this, regardless of what information is or isn't given to them. I know this is like a secure thing they can't disclose to the public, which I'm tired of, but they can't disclose to the public what was divulged in that meeting or not divulged in that meeting. But the last time this happened, you could almost read their expressions on their face.
Yeah.
You know, you had Burleson kind of almost slipping up on some stuff, you know, and you could see that these junior congressmen, wow, these junior that's right. Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog. You know, but you had like these, that's fine. You had these junior congressmen that they're not used to keeping these things, right? And they're just kind of like, blah, 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 you know, and wanting to spurt out stuff. So, and it's interesting that the newscaster or whatever that was at the location of the halls of Congress was saying, we'll find out on Friday, but we're not supposed to find out on Friday. You know, like, so it's kind of like, it's almost like he kind of sees maybe that something will get leaked. So I don't know if one will just get itchy. Like if Burchett hears something, he might just say, you know what, forget it. Screw it. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't just come straight out and tell us because they can't, I can read people's body language. I could read people's thoughts practically. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that they're going to say stuff without saying stuff. And I also think that what they do say is going to be telling, like we could read between the lines kind of thing. So I'm hopeful for this. I'm at least most hopeful that the Congress gets the answers that they want. You know, if they learn something new, then that's a win in my book.
I hope that they can. I hope they learn the reason why the Inspector General found David Grush's claims to be credible and urgent.
Right,
you know, I really hope that they will have a complete understanding of why he found it credible and urgent.
Good point.
That seems really important to me.
Good point.
Dang gummit.
Exactly. Release the files, dang gummit. All right, up next, Jeremy Corbell. Join Jeremy Corbell in a UFO revolution. In a tweet written on December 31st, 2023, New Year's Eve, Jeremy Corbell of the Weaponized Podcast says, this year is going to start off as a UFO banger. It's go-go UFO time, folks. Easy way or the hard way, it's up to us. Do not relent. Do not slow down. Fight for what you want. This is the moment we take control of the truth about UFOs. And what he's referring to is his second appearance on the Fox 10 News show. Let's check it out.
Welcome back to Newsmaker. We've repeatedly tackled a subject on this program that was once taboo. UFOs, or unexplained aerial phenomenon, UAPs. The sightings have increased, and the government has done a complete about-face recently, encouraging those who've seen these craft to come forward. Why are they doing this? Well, we're taking a deep dive into this subject with a guy who's become the tip of the spear on the subject, Jeremy Corbell. That's coming up in January, only on our digital platforms. But tonight, we're going to give you a sneak peek of that conversation. That's the essence of what journalists are really supposed to do. Ask the questions and have an open mind and open heart and see what they've got. And let's hear it out. Let's hash it out. You talked about being kind of blown away with this propulsion idea. The analogy I make when people say, well, even if there's life out there, they can't visit us because there's no way, the distances are too great. And my answer to that is, what if you had told Magellan in 1500 when he was sailing the oceans, hey, this little journey that's taken you 3 years, someday you're going to climb in a metal tube with wings on it like a bird, and you'll be able to do it in hours. Would he have believed it?
Right. And you know, as you're saying that, I kind of get goosebumps because if I remember correctly, in our first interview, I said something to the effect of, you know, we're just at the point where we're saying, hey, look, there's probably intelligent life out there. But the question we really should be asking is, are they coming here? And I said that like maybe in like 10 years, we'll be having that conversation. And here we are 8 years later, and I feel like we're on the cusp of that. So to your point, you know, it's like, of course, anything that is outside of our scope of understanding, it seems magical to us. But it doesn't mean that it is. It just means that we haven't gotten to that point of being able to replicate it or duplicate it. So if indeed UFOs are real, and if they are from somewhere else, and if they are somehow getting here from distances that baffle us, then there is just a technological answer to that. That's why I call it the UFO problem. I feel like there's a solution.
Yes, I agree with that, because how do we know that these civilizations, if they're out there, and I think, you know, most people now believe that there's intelligent life out there somewhere. There's life out there, and then intelligent life's a different question. But if they are advanced, let's say they're advanced beyond us by 1 billion years. What could they technically have that we can't even fathom? So I think we have to keep an open mind about this.
Yeah, I mean, it behooves us to keep an open mind about it. You know, some would say that there is a lot of evidence that there is a technology that is in our skies that is far beyond anything that we have. And our military has admitted that much. Our government to date has admitted that much, that there are craft that do things that seem impossible to us with our basic understanding of physics. And we don't know who flies them. So this basic concept of us catching up, look, mathematicians, physicists, theoretical physicists, people for ages have said, we're a young solar system. We're in a huge, vast ocean of potentiality for life. Of course, life, and even intelligent life, exists out there somewhere. But the question always is there a capability to get here? There are likely star systems and exoplanets that harbor life that have had longer than we have had to develop technologically. But also, it's possible that the technologies or the development on those exoplanets have just taken a divergent path. Maybe they're not burning fossil fuels. Maybe they learned different types of ways to manipulate our physics that just put them on a different trajectory than here on Earth.
Okay, so this is the thing that's gotten my attention. When we met first time 8 years ago, this was kind of a taboo subject. And I know you were skeptical of me because you dealt with journalists before. But again, my posture is, I have no idea. And if I pretend I actually know the answer, I'm an idiot. There's so much we don't know that to claim, well, this is nonsense, that is so ridiculous as a journalist to just say, nah, it can't be. So my posture's been, we're going to just explore this and talk about it. But what's interesting and what's changed, and I want to know why you think it's changed. The government is now saying, yeah, there's stuff going on that we can't quite explain. They're opening hearings. They're talking about it openly. Now they've opened 2 portals for the government, for pilots, military, to put videos in, then another one for the public to put their stuff in that they observe. They are now inviting this, and I'm wondering why. And my only suspicion is that they are concerned that we might make contact sometime in maybe the near future, and they want to soften the battlefield so that we don't freak out collectively.
4 days after that, he follows up with another fire statement on Twitter saying, part of spilling secrets is knowing when to keep them. I'm excited to be able to now inform you the UFO revolution begins January 9th, 10th, and 11th, a 3-night event. Behold, put on your UFO battle helmets. Yes, so what he's talking about is that this tweet reveals that TMZ is having a 3-night event happening next week called TMZ Presents UFO Revolution, and that he, along with other UFO advocates and researchers, will be featured in it. Let's watch the full-length trailer now.
You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies or alien species. Have you seen the spacecraft?
What I personally witnessed myself was very disturbing.
It has been since the inception of the UFO problem. Nothing to see here, all of that has changed.
A multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
A genuine disclosure of the UAP UFO subject would be the most earth-shattering thing imaginable.
It would be the biggest story in history. The biggest story, period.
Here was a phenomenon that the government couldn't protect us from.
The greatest superpower the Earth has ever known basically admitted there was no way they could defend themselves.
I don't trust the U.S. government, and I'm a United States congressman. They told me that I'd kicked a hornet's nest, and I needed to get some bodies around me.
This information is the most deeply held secrets in the entire government, and that includes the President of the United States.
Do not talk about these things, or things will not go well for you. This is like a mafia.
Have anyone been murdered?
I have to be careful asking that question.
The attacks on you, is there any moment where you regretted speaking up?
I don't, regret it. It's, I didn't want to live in the Matrix when there's stuff like this that's being hidden from the world populace.
Past the foot of my bed, there were 2 gray, non-human beings.
The aerospace defense companies, these are people who understand how to play high-level chess.
Somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and puts it out on the internet before they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times.
The footage was captured by our military. It's in Iraq. It was treated with just spectacular secrecy.
Just be careful. Don't step on the wrong toes.
Bob Lazar has been vindicated.
So I've got a still image of something that I have learned to be called the chandelier UAP. Does that ring a bell to you?
It does.
Do you think Chuck Schumer would put forward an amendment about UAPs and disclosure, putting the reputation of the entire Senate at risk with the upcoming election? I mean, I don't know how much more one needs.
This subject is a problem. It's a problem they can't control.
I know for a matter of fact that the UFO topic is considered more important at a higher level of security than weapons of mass destruction.
This is potentially world-conquering information, technology that can change the course of mankind.
A society that has lived a foundational lie for an entire human lifetime. I know it gets bigger than that.
To keep things secret, people are silenced. I don't know how better to say that.
I can't wait for this to come out. This is so interesting to me. It has all the key players in it. The commander of the 88th Air Base Wing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was relieved of command due to a loss of confidence in his ability to lead. To learn more, let's watch this clip.
Center 7 has learned the commander of the 88th Air Base Wing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base has been relieved of command. Colonel Christopher Meeker was removed today. Air Force officials said it's because of, quote, loss of confidence in his ability to lead. Meeker was installed as commander in July of 2022. The commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center said, quote, I made this decision in the best interest of the men and women of the 88th Air Base Wing.
Yikes. So I wonder what Meeker did to warrant such like a harsh reaction against him. I mean, like, I've never even really heard of that happening before. And an interesting point is that after considering that Rep. Mike Turner, who shares a district with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and who was number 17 on the 2010 most corrupt members of Congress list, as shown here, right there, number 17, Rep. Mike Turner. Just saying. UAP Society Discord server mod Overwatch says, quote, Twitter seems to be all hot and bothered about this story because of the UFO lore. I'm interested in it because of the connection of Wright Pat and the corruption trail Chris Lato talked about with Rep. Mike Turner. When a commander is fired from a base that Lato identifies as possibly in the middle of a budgetary black hole where trillions of dollars disappear with no accountability, it catches my attention, especially since they chose the day of the year where the fewest people watch the news to Friday news dump it. Just saying, I'd love to know more about this. Wright Pat is in the middle of this, and now a commander has been relieved of duty. End quote. Thank you, Overwatch, for that perspective. So we have a fired U.S. Air Force commander, a questionable Congress rep, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and trillions of missing dollars, all wrapped up in the same conundrum. UAP Society server mod Overwatch also suggests that you guys check out the Chris Lato video that I just put in the chat titled UAP Disclosure Act Under Threat. What is the roadblock? And I'll give you a hint. Follow the money. Just saying. All right, let's move on.
Yep. A UFO was spotted by Top Gun instructor pilot Jack Stewart. This week, UAP Society's Captain Chris Lato of Lato Files covered a story about the U.S. Navy Top Gun instructor pilot Jack Stewart, sharing his personal account of a UAP encounter during a dogfighting training mission. Being a pilot for the U.S. Air Force for over 17 years, Chris comments on this story and gives his unique perspective on the whole situation. Let's take a look.
Okay, now this is F-18 pilot Jack Stewart. He's an author and aviator. He brings over 20 years of real-world experience as a Navy FA-18 fighter pilot, adversary instructor pilot, and veteran of the Special Operations community. And he's written fast-paced military thrillers. Well, thanks to Jack Stewart for having the courage to actually speak out about something that he saw out there, right? Which seems so simple. Right? Everyone should be able to speak out about what they saw. But anyway, it's difficult. And he's already published a few books before. I'd published a few books as well. That makes it easier to actually go out and speak online and take all the spears that are inevitably going to come from saying anything online, especially anything that counteracts the mainstream narrative. So let's hear what Jack saw.
It was just a couple of years before I retired. I was flying a day air-to-air training mission with my wingman over the Gulf of Mexico. So we took off out of New Orleans, and we were just doing 1v1 dogfighting, and good weather, daytime. And I'm pulling up. I'm looking up, probably 1 or 2 o'clock out of the canopy at my wingman, who's pointed back towards my 6 o'clock, and I see something go right by the canopy, right, and instinctively I duck, thinking it's a bird or something, but I realize I'm way too high for a bird. So then my logical brain says, okay, this is a glare off the canopy or something. So I'm gonna keep fighting. My wingman says, "Did you just see that?" I'm like, "I saw something." So he called it knock it off. And a knock it off means the fight's over. And he goes, "I'm going to chase it." And I was like, okay. So he goes back. I turn around. We have our radars out. We have we have training missiles that are infrared scanning. Can't find it. We circled the whole area. Could not find anything. And so now I'm convinced like it's a weather balloon or something, right? We go back to base and we're debriefing it, and I'm trying to debunk it the whole time. And we get the models out, and we're like this, and we're moving this fast, and something's, and he's like, "Dude, this thing went by your jet, turned and followed you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "I didn't know that part."
So is that on radar?
No, that was just with his eyes.
Oh, okay.
So Jack doesn't give an exact time or time of the year. He says a few years before he retired. So I'm guessing 2017, 2018, maybe is when this happened. He's flying out of New Orleans.
Oh, I didn't know that. You just taught me something on air live. Cool.
Love
that.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's an interesting story. You know, it really is. Especially the fact that this object turned around and followed his jet. That's the interesting key part of information to me.
Signifies that it's
you know?
intelligently controlled.
Right. You know, and it's not like it was just like a balloon or something that got
Right.
sucked into the vacuum of the jet, you know,
Nope.
because it was flying by real fast.
Super intentional
You know, for it
movements.
to speed up and match the speed of his jet, you know, that's mind blowing to me. That's amazing, you know, and the fact that it wasn't seen on radar, that the pilot saw his wingman saw it with his eyes, you know, is very telling that it was something very anomalous, something very special, something very interesting, you know. And I mean, it's another Tic Tac, you know.
All right, I have an update on where Kirkpatrick Pants is working. We know where he is now. According to journalist Ross Coulthart, he knows where former Aero director Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is now employed. Let's hear that straight from him.
What role do you think Aero is going to take in 24? We know they're under new leadership, or soon will be, rather. What do you think they're going to do? What role will they play?
Look, it's interesting because a lot of the way Arrow conducted itself previously was very much under the influence of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. And I know people inside Arrow. I've spoken to some other people inside Arrow who are good people, and they're very motivated. They want you to know what they know, and they're very interested in trying to help the American public and the world find out more about the UAP mystery. And I think, frankly, inside Arrow, there's a sense of relief that Dr. Kirkpatrick has moved on. Oh, and by the way, Bryce, seeing we're on the subject, since we last broadcast, as I predicted, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick has indeed gone to work at the Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratory. As it's very, very funny because I put in a Freedom of Information Act request when I got a tip that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, while he was working at Arrow, was being listed as a staff member. And sure enough, when I searched online, Dr. Kirkpatrick was listed as a staff member at Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratory. And then, of course, when I put an FOI in, there was a denial that came back a few weeks after I'd gone public with this information, saying that he wasn't working at Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratory. And I think somebody in the IT department had put what everybody already knew up online in anticipation of his appointment. Anyway, it came out in December that he is joining Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratory. And I think that's very, very, very significant because, of course, that's a DOE-run facility in conjunction with a local university. And it's the Department of Energy, of course, that controls, I suspect, a lot of the UAP secrets.
So he goes from Aero to Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratory. And to prove what Ross is talking about, here is a screenshot from Oak Ridge's official website stating, Dr. Kirkpatrick joined Oak Ridge National Laboratory in December 2023 as the Chief Technology Officer for Defense and Intelligence Programs within the National Security Sciences Directorate, NSSD. In this role, Dr. Kirkpatrick serves as a scientific advisor helping NSSD apply the lab's broad capabilities to emerging science and technology trends in the defense and intelligence communities and to other classified R&D challenges. His unique experience and significant depth of expertise in scientific and technical intelligence, R&D, leadership, and operations helps the laboratory to understand the workforce, resources, and R&D infrastructure required to meet the national security missions of our sponsors. Dr. Kirkpatrick retired from federal senior service in December 2023. Prior to that, he answered to the Deputy Secretary of Defense to stand up and lead all domain anomaly resolution office in early 2022. End quote.
I don't know. I'm still kind of confused and conflicted about Dr. Kirkpatrick. You know, I mean, on one hand, he helped Professor Avi Loeb write, you know, that paper on Oumuamua. And on the other hand, you know, he stood up Arrow. However, I think he was directed, you know, what to disclose and what to say. So, you know, but it's like one hand, you know, he's all for it, and the other hand, you know, is not. So I don't know. I'm conflicted by him.
I like to give the guy a hard time. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know that he was or I hear that he was upset that Avi Loeb went ahead and put out that paper. Just as a side note, before I guess he felt that it was ready to go or that it was published at all.
mean, I don't even know if we'll really hear too much more about Kirkpatrick Pants now that he's over there. I don't know. What do you think?
We will.
I think that him going over to Oak Ridge might be some sort of indication that possibly Oak Ridge National Labs is reverse engineering some sort of UFO tech.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, and there might be some kind of correlation there. On the first day of 2024, an alleged 8 to 10 foot tall alien was seen in Miami, Florida. This is a strange event that has the internet buzzing, so let's explore this together. At 9:56 p.m. on January 1st, 2024, Miami PD tweeted, at approximately 8:30 p.m. on 11/23, we received a call of shots fired in the rear of 401 Biscayne Boulevard. We responded to investigate and found that it was fireworks. No shots were fired. The situation is now under control. Let's see what that scene looked like for ourselves.
All right, that seems like hella chaotic to me, and it seems like there was a whole bunch of teenagers walking around. I don't know, it seems like there was a lot of cops there. I mean, what was really going on? So in the next video from Twitter user Only in Dade, we have what appears to be a close-up of what people are calling a light being. Let's check it out. Okay, so they're saying that this right here is the light being. That's what people are saying was the light being.
In an excerpt from an article titled Rumors of 10-Foot Alien at Miami Mall Circulate Online, here's what actually happened. On Forbes.com says, end quote, there were no aliens, UFOs, or ETs. No airports were closed, no power outages, end quote. Miami Police Department told Forbes in an email, adding that citywide officers were deployed for crowd control due to juveniles refusing to leave the area.
Other circulating facts about this event is that there was some kind of fight that supposedly happened and that 4 juveniles were arrested on the scene. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what do you guys make of this? Was this a real alien visitation and appearance? Was it a psyop? Was this an example of a false flag event? Was it just a bunch of rowdy kids that were fighting and shooting off some fireworks and then the cops showed up? But then if that was just the case, then why was there so many cops that showed up? Because it was like 100 cop cars on the scene. Like, I don't know. This whole thing's really weird. There's a lot of people talking about it online. A lot of the people that do UFO type shows on YouTube have already covered it. They've already got their ideas out there. I just thought that this was worth mentioning. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not sold either way. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's one of those things that it probably has a very mundane explanation that the internet has kind of just taken this event and ran with it. You know, earlier today, another UAP Society member, you guys probably know who he is, George, basically said that he found the video that was not edited or blurred in any way. Well, we showed it. And to me, it clearly looks like there's 3 people walking side by side. But, you know, I still don't know exactly what happened. I wasn't there. This is all just information that I've gleaned from Twitter or X. You know, and you're right. It is a awful lot of cops there.
That's exactly what Cosmic Cathedral says in the chat. She says, I'm really up in the air with it. This is an awful lot of cops. Yeah, it does look like a small group. So now another thing that I want to point out about this is that what we saw was the outside of the mall where there was supposedly a light being walking by. Then things came out that was a videotape that was played in reverse and blurred, and it was really just 3 people walking side by side. But what we haven't mentioned yet is what the people from the inside of the mall have been saying. And that's a whole different scenario. They have a whole different side of the the story, and that's going like wildfire all over TikTok. The craziest story that I heard today was that there was a group of teenagers that had a small piece of technology that looked like either a DVD player or a radio, and they were heard saying things like, oh, we're safe here, we should just plug it in and see what happens. They plug it in, all of a sudden there's this electrical noise, like a woo 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 sound that can be heard. They said that there was like a big distortion bubble that started to form around the thing. People started showing up to look at it. People were pulling out their phones to videotape it. Then they said that what appeared to look like some kind of portal, that like a foot and an arm and a piece of a head started walking out of this portal. There were people talking about how there were shadow figures that would appear in one area, disappear, and then all of a sudden a few seconds later they were closer up. So I don't know. This is really wild. It's kind of all over the place. I don't know what to make of it, heads or tails. It's just a lot of weird.
If there is in fact video of that, I would really like to see that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen that video yet.
Right. And if we do find that video, well, maybe we'll feature it next week.
Yeah.
Please.
Who knows what's about to come out, but it's, you know, it's another wild story, you know, that we need more data on.
Yeah. And in the chat, Cosmic Cathedral says, the strange thing is mainly how people came to there being aliens from this, though. Like, how did that come to even be a part of the story? That is weird. I hadn't heard that. I hope more footage comes out. And if it does, we'll bring it straight to you.
But yeah, it's an interesting story. It kind of reminds me just a little bit on the surface of the Vegas alien. Just like a little bit as far as the hype.
It gave me Peru vibes and it gave me Las Vegas vibes. That's why I wanted to cover it, because I'm like, you know, this could be relevant, it could be not. People are talking about it either way, so let's just bring it up.
Yes. It's an interesting story.
And you know, there could be something else going on here, and what I mean by that is, you know, something really significant could have actually happened inside of the mall, you know, and then now they're trying to muddy the waters by taking a video of the outside of the mall and doing this to it, you know, to just try and discredit the whole entire story, right? You know, we don't really know exactly what's going on, so
I'll keep my eyes peeled on
TikTok.
TikTok.
An open mind about it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it just came to my head. You know, we're always talking about disclosure, and you know, have our theories about how it'll happen and what's the best way, and are they going to show themselves? This is a perfect example of if they did show themselves to the public, like in a public setting, how people will react, how the police department might react, how the media reacts, and all that. So it's like maybe it's just trying to test us out to see how we're going to react to these things.
And that's a good point to bring up too, because another circulating piece of information about this is that they said that the teenagers that were on scene were fighting with sticks. People took that literally and thought that it was like a piece of the tree stick. Stick is code for pew-pews. So maybe it wasn't fireworks. Maybe it was shots fired. You know what I'm saying? So if people, you know, because one of the persons on TikTok that mentioned the shadow being said that people pulled out their pieces and started shooting at it. So I don't know. There's all these weird conflicting things. Some seem sensationalized. Some seem made up or botched. I don't know.
And last but not least, something to look forward to in 2024 is James Fox's new film, The Program. On New Year's Eve, while we were filming last week's show, UFO enthusiast and filmmaker James Fox made a tweet letting us know of his next upcoming project. And he says, "My new film, The Program, is coming late summer 2024 and does include first-hand witnesses as well as sitting members of Congress. 2023 has been good, but also very tough. Let's kick some ass in 2024.
Yes.
There's no trailer for this film as of yet, but let's look back at some things James said in the past year that may be a foreshadow of what's to come in this film. In this video, back from August of 2023, James Fox tells the host of the Minds podcast that we will get a first-hand witness, photographic evidence, and high-resolution satellite evidence within the year.
I think within a year, you're going to be hearing from first-hand witnesses, not second-hand witnesses. There's going to be additional people coming forward confirming David Grush's claims, and there's going to be more evidence leaking out, like photographic evidence, things. This is coming out. How do I know this? I've also went to Washington for almost 5 weeks just a couple months ago, and I met with a lot of the people that are working behind the scenes to get this out. They know that it's real, okay? It's just now it's a matter of how do we roll this out? How, and there is a lot of talking behind the scenes. I can assure you this is coming out, and you just wait. When some high resolution satellite imagery leaks out, that will be happening. First-hand witnesses are going to come forward. That will be happening. They can't put the genie back in the bottle, man. This is coming out.
Cannot put the genie back in the bottle.
Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube either. So a month later, in September 2023, James Fox went on the Anything Goes with James English show, saying this.
There is an individual that is on the verge of going public, and I thought that your audience might like to hear from this. Okay? Here we go. Hello, James. This is a first-hand intel guy, witness. Hello, James. It's been a while since we collaborated on a public statement. As you know, I'm working to get private industry and Congress to collaborate on the UAP materials and biologics. Yes, both are part of the legacy program. I know we had a few oddball comments from folks who haven't been in the program, but as someone with first-hand knowledge and knowing other first-hand experiencers, we have been asked to formalize our testimony through the same ICIG, its Intelligence Community Inspector General, process that David Grush went through. Unlike David, I personally have not experienced any attacks from the government, nor DOD. My reason for coming forward is purely to provide factual information concerning the people, locations, private laboratories, and research facilities that exist around the world in an effort to help the investigative process. It's always my hope that the DOD, Pentagon, and the Legacy Program people are allowed to get out from under the heavy-handed weaponization of the exotic technologies they have. I believe there is a solid path for everyone to come forward without reprisal and to help mankind by making the non-classified aspects more transparent and available for the sectors of our societies that involve medicine, energy production, and the enlightenment of our collective mindset as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm encouraged by all the hard work that many unsung heroes are doing behind the scenes, and I can tell you there's a lot, as well as in the public domain. I will be coming forward when the time is right. I wish you and everyone you read this letter to all the blessings and goodwill they deserve. The truth is now being revealed, and I promise to continue doing my part. Anyway, that's someone who's not in a position to go public just yet, but is going through the process. There's a particular process that they have to go through before they can become, I guess, whistleblower, right? So that was a message from one of those individuals that we'll be hearing from probably as early as this year.
James Fox has been sitting on some info and just waiting for the right time to release it, and that time has come. So late summer 2024, we're going to get another film from James Fox, and I don't know about you guys, but I really love his work.